What's going on? Got another dream journal here. I got some notes to the left. Last night, before I was going to sleep, I spoke with Monica, who is part of a team that I worked with, and we got into what I've been working on, my dreams. And she told me about how she was able to gain control of her dreams, and she gave me her technique, which is really simple. You just remember your dream from the night before. If it's a recurring dream, this will be easier, but try to remember that just any key points that you were conscious, and go in and just set the intention to ask certain questions to that. Like if you had an interaction with a certain individual, ask yourself, why did I do this? I want to speak to this individual and get answers from them. And or if you're in, you might see a certain site and it's like, I want to look at that thing again and see, like, what did that represent? So all that being said, there were two situations which I really remembered from my dream last night that I didn't really explain, and that was on purpose. But in this one, I do want to go a little bit deeper because it was interesting. While there was only one of the two situations which occurred again, and the other two situations had to deal with certain things that happen subconsciously in me through events, or that were triggered by events that happened throughout the day. And it was really interesting to see the while it was very subconscious what happened, it was really interesting to like dive deep into them and to deal with it. And I practice something called the mucusless diet healing system. There's something called the formula of life, which is the foundation of that practice. Vitality equals power minus obstruction. And the entire lifestyle, if you take the information of that book on as a lifestyle, is meant to just deal with obstruction. You're trying to remove that which is unnatural, that which is foreign to the mind, the body, the emotions. And once eliminated, once the obstruction is gone, then that which powers the body, powers the mind, powers the emotion is able to function unobstructed. You experience vitality at a level you never thought possible, and you function as you're meant to, right? So I'm seeing that dreams are me dealing with these obstructions. There are ways for me to eliminate this stuff. As I see them right now, and I'm sure this is bound to change, is a way for me to get a visual, like almost a tangible experience of a problem that I can then investigate when I'm conscious. Because right now I'm not really experiencing these dreams super consciously. I'm experiencing them consciously enough to remember them. But when I come back here, I can really dissect them and really work on what my mind's trying to tell me to work on. So all that being said, we lost power in the house. And this is the dream, not here, but we lost power in the house, and I felt smaller, like almost like child size. And I remember trying to find my mom in the house, and she was sleeping, like she was chill. And she just had the blankets over her, and she was sleeping on the ground, which was funny because there's a conversation we had. She's like, yeah, I can sleep on the ground, it's fine, just as long as I have covers over me. And I remember just like trying to get like as close as I could to her, just really like just trying to get close. And she was like, it's chill, like it's fine. And so breaking this down, we had a thunderstorm yesterday. I had a fear of losing power in the house. And though it was very subtle, my mom mentioned it, and it like inflamed it a little bit. And what this ultimately manifested into, and the reason why I had that fear in the first place, is because I have a fear of being incapable to take care of myself. Because even if the power gets lost forever, if you are able to take care of yourself, if you're able to live in the woods, if you're able to make currency or be able to obtain the currency that is important in whatever society you're in, whether it's a barter or trade or more of like a monetary one that we have now, if you can take care of yourself, like it doesn't really matter what happens. It's like, I'll be fine. But my mom being the one who gave birth to me, and ultimately the first person who I was really in the arms of after, being probably passed around by doctors and nurses after being born, was the first person to teach me or show me like the emotion of nurturing, of it's safe, you're okay. And growing up, my mom was the breadwinner, so she took care of everything monetarily. So the roof over my head, if things got hard, she made the budget cuts, and we never lost the house. We always had food on the plate in abundance, and there was always entertainment. And sometimes that would go up and down based on the economy of the world. But mom held it down. She's always held it down. And whenever bigger troubles in the world occur, I subconsciously first look to her, and especially right now, because she, God bless her, is giving me the opportunity to really work towards a life that I believe in and that I believe will change the world. And so doing so, she's floating me monetarily and like money and temporarily too. I really want this to be a temporary thing, but by looking at her subconsciously, when there's those bigger things, those things of like, okay, because this isn't like, this is my home, but it's not my name. It's not actually like my thing. I don't really have much things, and I feel like I'm just kind of like hanging on by a string. If anything really goes wrong, I'm sure I could figure it out, but that anxiety really messes with it. It makes it very difficult to see clearly. I just don't want to train that dependency. So that's what this was showing me. I do have that subconscious dependency right now, because in a way she is my caretaker, and all these things are very difficult for me to say, because I don't like that feeling of like weakness and that I need to be taken care of. But there is a certain, I want to say almost like a divinity in being able to submit to something higher, and you can practice that with the right people that you trust. And it's, maybe I shouldn't even say that, because I know what I mean when I say that, but that could be taken very incorrectly. But what I mean is just trust. Learn to trust in others, and also ultimately you need to learn to trust in yourself, because if you put all of your trust in others, you're gonna get burned. It's even likely to say if you put even some of your trust in others, you're likely to get burned. But anyway, I digress. The next scene was this very odd scene of like indoor baseball, right? It's like imagine just a baseball game taking place inside this room, which is maybe like 12 by 12 feet. It's just maybe 8-10 feet tall. Like it's not huge. But as you walk towards the game, the field becomes bigger, and it's like the entire room expands into a baseball field, like a full-fledged 500, like a baseball stadium, like 300 feet, 400 feet. I don't know how big they are. And so it was very, very odd, because there was 2 games going on. I could see them, and as I got close, everything got bigger. But it was full of Spanish characters, and I wanted to help someone record their gameplay, but it was kind of from a place of anxiety. And when I looked into this, my mom mentioned that there's a family gathering that's going to take place next year. My grandma wants all of her grandchildren to come together, and it's a great way for the family to bond. And so my mind took that and ran with the bonding thing and showed the baseball. And that's interesting, because my family's side, my mom's side, we've never done that. We've always had more parties, sit down conversations, play games, but like athletics were never the thing. My dad told me about that for his family, but we've never done that with his family, like ever. And that was when he was a child. So it was interesting that came up, but it makes sense why. Now, the athletics parts was very specific, because athletics often cultivated anxiety inside of me. I didn't get into sports until I was 15 or 16, so later, and I was lacking pretty far behind most of the boys at that point. And there's a lot of ego and cockiness and willingness to put down others within sports. I mean, that's just like masculine energy, whether it's jokingly or whether it's serious. Like that's just how it is when you get a lot of masculine energy in a certain area. And so the reason I would get anxiety is because, one, I couldn't hold my own. Like I never stood out in sports. I mean, I got hustle and or maybe I'm putting myself down, because at times I was good, but it's like I wasn't like great. It was never really great, but I loved it. I think it's really, really fun. Um, and I almost always had great anxiety whenever I went to any type of performance, mainly because looking back at it, like physiologically, my adrenals were compromised. I always had a high sugar diet, and so when your adrenals are compromised and you eat something like sugar, you're just bound to have horrible anxiety later on. Just leave it there. But my inability to perform at the same level in all areas as the people who were ready to physically harm me, teammates who would openly express their disappointment in my inability to perform, coaches who would treat me as less than for my lack of performance, and just looking like an idiot in front of a giant crowd of people, like all of that would really mess with me. And I remember when I was doing like team sports when I was younger, that was just super damaging to my mental health. And I really hated it. So all that being said, I practice a lifestyle that is not understood by my extended family, really, like, at all. They might think they know, but they don't really know. And a large portion of me does not care, because that's just how it's been for the majority of my life. Most of the things I like are never mainstream. Oftentimes they might become mainstream. Actually has happened a lot of times. A lot of things like become mainstream a lot later. So I'm really hoping this right here, Mucus Society Healing System by Professor Arnold Ehret, really hope this becomes mainstream later. Check out Professor Spira's YouTube channel. Just type in Professor Spira, Spira, and I'm his video editor right now over there, but I digress. The smaller portion of me feels like I have to prove something. Like I need to provide some sort of value to them. I need to submit to them. And that was represented in me wanting to record my cousin. And you might be wondering, well, like, how does it have to deal with submission? Like, I guess you're providing value by recording them. But I had a fear of my camera being damaged, and I actually skipped over something. So I'm going to go back to that and then return back to the camera. But this submission piece, I want to tackle that. Growing up, I had a very strong mother figure. I would feel my mother still has that strength, but she's become a lot softer with me as I've gotten older. And so growing up, what she said was law, and submission is something I've practiced since I was young because of that. I don't want to make her angry. She provided everything for me. Like, I'm going to do what you want to do. Of course, I was a butthead sometimes, and I would. A kid doesn't, but give her pushback. But it's something I've slowly been working on over the last 8 years, because if you submit quickly, and anyone has any type of aggression in them, and they're willing to express that, you will be stepped on very easily, and you will be taken advantage of very easily. And especially if you don't have backbone or conviction, you will just be used. Because if anyone can bypass your willpower and your control over yourself by just expressing some anger, by just expressing some authority onto you, you're screwed. You're literally screwed. So all that being said, my submission, on top of my high anxiety and my lack of vitality, I was too tired and too anxious to think for myself. If I just did what these people told me to do, my pain would go away, kind of. And the same thing happened for social situations. Whatever situation I was in, let me just analyze what's accepted, what's not accepted. I will mold my personality to just bring value in the areas that I can be accepted, and I will do my best to be a good boy and not be myself. And it was just not good. So anyway, all that being said, that part of me was cultivated for 16 years or more. Well, I guess maybe 16 is around the time when I started to so I guess 16 that's true. 16 is around the year that I started to kind of undo that slowly. So I've been going at it for 10 years. So with the camera thing, the camera is a fear of what is important to me being damaged in my attempt to submit to my family to gain their approval, because my camera is really important. I mean, this camera, this YouTube channel is what started the journey of me learning all of the skills that ultimately serve as the foundation for what I'm doing now. These editing skills, which I'm not gonna edit these videos. I don't want to. I want this to just be a plug and play thing. Again, check out Professor Spears videos if you want to see what I'm doing now. But it serves as the foundation that I use to actually prop myself out of the life that I was living before. It was the way that I was able to provide value to the community that I serve now. And that lifestyle encapsulates that. Everything that I feel is important and the values that I want to, and the value that I have that I want to bring to the world is encapsulated in that lifestyle. And so if this baseball game is representing this meeting with my family that I have, then yeah, it's like I have this anxiety going in, the value that I provide, the camera that I'm going to use to record this figure, which is representing my cousin, and the fear that it's going to be damaged during the event is this fear that my lifestyle that I'm bringing to the table, which inherently is just me, is going to be pushed on. It's going to be damaged. And so it's funny because I bring it up and it's like, man, who cares? Like, who cares? I don't care. But a part of me obviously does, because these are people that I love, and these are people that I wish would understand me, because I mean, I've just seen incredible things in myself, and I've been putting my mother on the lifestyle, and she's already, like, she knows how when she veers off of it, even for just a day, even just for a meal, she can tell, like, oh, I don't feel good. So I want to bring that same level of vitality, of happiness, of actually feeling comfortable in your body to these people. And I just don't want them to destroy me. So I want to submit to them and to mold myself in ways that they would be willing to accept. But I don't actually want to do that. That's just that's my thought patterns. I've cultivated that thought habit whenever I go into social situations. So it's like, okay. So anyway, you get the point. You get the point. I'm just dissecting what my mind is giving me here. And this is the last thing. Last night I had a dream where I saw someone. This is a dream, and I covered this in my last video, but I saw someone who I know to be incredibly independent in real life, and I also think they're beautiful. And so in the first dream that I had yesterday, I ended up persuading that person to do what I wanted them to do, and it ultimately led to well, actually, I'm getting ahead of myself. So I ended up persuading them to do what I want them to do. And so I believe that when you see something beautiful, the desire to manipulate it, to have control over it, whether it's a flower or a person, anything really, it's a common desire. So because we are attracted to beauty, but I do believe it's best practice to just appreciate it. It's like when you see a beautiful sky, some of us might want to control the moment and just have that moment last forever. Make this specific scene last longer. Again, manipulation, control, but just let it be. I mean, you have to. You're not going to stop the sky. You're not going to stop the sun. And just appreciate it. And boom, there you go. Start with the sky. You're welcome. But I did this persuasion. I persuaded this person because I have a desire to provide for people. And by providing for this person, I could keep them close. So you could see it's not, it's masqueraded as a noble cause. Oh, I see this beautiful thing. Come here. Let me come within my grasp. And once I have you within my grasp in the area of, oh, I'm providing for you, can't leave. Now I can control you. Now I can manipulate you. So the thing is, like I was saying with my family, right? Whether it's subtle or more obvious, I want to influence people to do things which I believe will make them happier and make them feel better. And now, again, this is camouflaged as a noble desire, but this will still bring stress and suffering inevitably, whether it's to me, which it's always going to be me, and then maybe to the other person if I choose to project what I'm going through. Because if I start feeling bad because of this, to me, that's just a sign that, like, yo, you need to stop doing this. You need to step away from this. And I know it runs deep and it's not an overnight fix, but not appreciating them or letting them be because of a desire to control, it's just not worth it. So I don't want to repeat myself too much, but the answer here is to learn how to be attached from people in a way that you can interact with them. And if you choose to provide for them, do so in a detached way. And I speak about it in my other video where there's a specific yogi who was the head of an ashram, and he was just incredibly detached. He was mentioned in an autobiography, and the author of the autobiography just left, and he was like the head disciple of this yogi, and he just left. He didn't tell him anything, and he came back. I think it might have been a week or so, a couple of weeks, and he came back, and the guy was just completely unfazed. He's like, "Oh, welcome back. You know, here's some food." And the author was just so disappointed in himself for what he did. But this guy was completely attached. He didn't care if he stayed, he didn't care if he'd go. He was just doing his higher purpose. He was just fulfilling his will, his own will. And so that leads me to further the solution. If the individual's will, the person, the thing that you're attracted to, and their higher calling is in alignment with your will and your higher calling, even if it's just for a period of time, then you will work well together in the areas that alignment is present. So if it's in alignment with the work you're trying to do to change the world, that's great. If it's not in alignment with their dietary standards, such as if you have this higher calling to become a vegan and they have this higher calling to become a carnivore, but you guys both want to free the world or free this country of an evil government, you guys are going to work really well with the work period. And then once that liberation has occurred, you guys might not work so well together because the other areas didn't have that alignment. So you want to, if you're going to take care of anyone, or really, I'm going to move away from that. If you are going to involve yourself with anyone, really, if it's going to be an intimate and close situation, really do your best to have their will and their higher calling in life be in alignment with your will and your higher calling. So all of this to say, I saw that person again, using the method that Monica taught me, which I mentioned earlier in the video. And I watched them do their thing from a distance, and I appreciated them. Nothing about what they were doing or how they were acting was in alignment with me. I would have had to take everything from them to force them to stick around. And that's not how I want to provide for people. I feel like I said, there's so many ways to cultivate unwanted karma through that desire to provide for people without truly cleaning yourself out first. If you're just providing for people as a consequence of acting solely on your will, and your will doesn't involve hurting people, like innately stomping and steamrolling over people to achieve something, then deliberately seeking to hurt people, I think you could be okay. And sometimes trying to renounce a desire without actually working through it doesn't work. Sometimes people need to taste the fruit. They might need to eat a whole lot of it before they drop it and truly have no appetite left for it. They're done with it and they will never return back to it. So I love dreams because you can experience them very vividly. And then that allows you to work through these desires at a much more rapid pace compared to having to do it in the waking world. So that is my dream interpretation. It is 4:44 a.m. and that's pretty cool. I will catch you guys later. Peace.